Hey everybody, Eagle Run 23. I have a new favorite pistol, but before I can tell you about that, I need to tell you about GoodRancher.com. Good Rancher has an amazing monthly delivery meat box that comes to your house. I've been using it for a while. I'm a big fan of the Wagyu burgers. These are American Wagyu. They are absolutely delicious. They come frozen, just thaw them out, put them on the grill. I always try to have some in my freezer. Go to the description or the pinned comment below. You'll see a link to GoodRancher.com, and you can find some of the deals that are out there. Right now for Father's Day, they've got some amazing deals. The burger box comes with free bacon. They've got the Rancher and the Cowboy. They've got chicken and fish, all sorts of good stuff on there. Go check them out. I'm pretty sure that you'll like it if you like grilling like I do, but back to the pistols here. This is the white GST9 with the Strike 80 slide, Tyrant barrel, Tyrant trigger, Glock candy parts, and some Tyrant machined parts. This gun is my celebration to myself. This was my 10,000 subscriber gun, and before I even had this done, we had already hit 20,000 subscribers. But Tyrant sights, this gun feels really good. I'm a big fan of the Tyrant trigger. It's nice and wide. It's got a good feel to it. This gun shoots really well. I am having a little bit of problems with feeding. A couple of you in the comments suggested that it could be this mag extension. This is a Tyrant mag extension. I tried it with both the Tyrant and the Strike Industries, and I seem to have problems with both of them. I'm gonna go back and check my footage though and see, because I also used a lot of just regular Glock 17 mags, and it seemed like sometimes it was working and sometimes it wasn't. So now that I know that could be an issue, maybe I can narrow down. But these mags also ran in my P80 Glock 17, the camo slide with the dot on it. I ran those in here and had no trouble with it, and I ran those both in here and had no trouble with it. But we're still tuning on this gun. This is one that I probably did not do my recommended break-in on, the 500 slides, before you go to the range. I maybe jumped the gun a little bit on that and rushed it a little bit. So paying the price for that now. I've already shot some rounds through it, and it's not quite 100%, but we'll get it there. I'm just gonna pretty much put it on a stand and look at it. And thank you for the 10,000, which is now 23,000 subscribers. So let's talk about my new favorite gun. Man, this I don't know what to say about it. This feels absolutely amazing. It's the 17 grip, which is the longer grip. It's a cool thing about GST is they let you choose your grip size. You can go Glock 19 or you can go Glock 17 grip. So this basically turns into a 19X, and the proportions of this look good to me. They feel good to me. And you guys wanted me to do the FDE with FDE and the OD green with FDE. So I finished the green one first. The FDE one is over there. We'll get to it shortly. But shooting this gun for the first time, now I did the full 500 rack break-ins. About 100 of those were with trigger squeezes, and everything on this gun is melded beautifully. It's smooth. We need a little lube on our spring because we're getting a little squeak there, but that's just maintenance. That's just part of it. Now, let me tell you, the white optic on here, this gun is so smooth, and that optic comes up so nice. Comes in so nice with that white dot. I was hitting everything I was aiming for. My first time with a 80% Arms branded barrel. Let's get this taken apart and I'll show you that. We never really did an in-depth look at this barrel, but it is fluted and it does not have any 80% Arms branding on it, so I don't really know if they're making it, if they're having it made. I should ask those guys. They've been really helpful to us here, but accuracy is just what I would expect, if not more than what I would expect. We'll get this guy wiped off here a little bit. I think with this gun, I was having some jamming right here at the feed ramp. So I might want to compare these two barrel designs and see if there's anything different about them. But this gun now does have 100 rounds on it. I put 100 rounds through this thing. So we probably should clean that barrel out, given that it's the first time. But everything checks out fine. Really a good looking barrel design to be poking through those windows there on the slide. Very happy with this setup. So coming from shooting rifles mostly recently, I've had to somewhat temper my expectations for accuracy, which, by the way, if you guys want any of these targets, these are some that I designed. There's a dot torture drill back there, just some dots that I like to use to try to get on target. But anyway, I've had to, because one of the only YouTube channels that really shows a lot of like pistol groups like on camera is my buddy Chris over at Chris from the 740. He's a competitive shooter, and sometimes he'll pop up and show some groups, and he'll show maybe something like this, and he'll say, oh, that was a really good group. For me, I want them all touching, but I know that's not really, it's not entirely reasonable every time you're like doing drills and stuff with pistol for them to all be touching or in the same hole. If I'm standing there lined up, slow shooting at my pace, yes, I want them all in the same hole, or I want them to go in the hole that is printed, which we'll talk about that here in just a second. So anyway, I'm happy with this. I shot 6 or 8 groups that were like this. This is a 10-shot group. Most of them are right there, and I got too high. So these are all in about 1.5 inches. And then if you add those in, you know, you're looking at like maybe a 3 or a 4-inch group. It's again, rifle versus pistol. I know it's not entirely comparable, but I guess I'm happy with this. I wish I didn't have those two, but I think Chris would say this is a good group. So Chris, if you're watching, leave us a comment below. Now, I like to do these just to get a feel for the trigger, especially on a new gun. I usually will put, which by the way, this was at 12 yards, and these were at 7 yards. Or sometimes I'll even do 5 yards for these. But some of this was with the white GST. Some of this was with the new, we need a name for this guy, green FDE. Some of this was also when I was trying to get my pistol, the Glock 17 that has the red dot on it, trying to get that dot kind of dialed in a little bit as well, just continuing to shoot, you know, my guns and get used to them. So I know this probably doesn't look like much, but down here at the bottom, this row in particular was with the green, the new one. And it was towards the end. It was probably my last 10 or 20 shots. I missed here, but I did go touching, 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 and then I put 2 touching here. This one is actually supposed to be from this row. But I put 2 touching here. For some reason, I had an extra bullet in I guess I didn't count. I usually try to load up 10 and shoot 2 rows of 5. That way I can kind of keep track of my bullets. Maybe it was the end of the box. I had something extra. I don't remember why, but I had an extra bullet, so I tried to put 2 there. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 touching, but I did drop the very first shot. So this was kind of how I finished, and I was pretty happy with that. Over here, another good one. This first one is low, but then touching, touching barely, touching, and not quite touching. And then this row right here goes down, up, up. Maybe that's where my extra, maybe that's where I was short of bullet was right there, because there's not one there. Also, these smaller circles here at the top, I like to try to go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then reset on this one and do my last 5 here. For whatever reason, I tore this one off, but that's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. New mag, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just some fun little drills to keep my cadence and my rhythm and try to continue to get used to the gun. So, man, I think I'm happy with this. This gun shot really well. 0 failure to fires, 0 failure to feeds. Now, I did have 3 reloads. These are reloads that I purchased from the gun range. A couple sessions ago, I forgot my ammo, so I had to buy a box of reloads from them. And I had 3 in there that were primer strikes, no fire. And I loaded them up twice. I shot them all twice. Those would just simply not go off. I wish I probably should have kept them and took them apart and see if I could take a look at that primer, but I just threw them in the bucket. Got some holsters coming for this. Yes, I will carry an 80%. And it's also possible that, you know, down the road, I would even consider serializing a couple of these if we're worried about serialization and that sort of thing. But let's talk about the problems with this gun that I'm still having that I want to continue to tune on. Number one, I don't know what it is, but when this mag release went in from the very get-go, it's just not quite every single time where it's, now they all release just fine. So it's not a problem when you're shooting it, but you can see that it doesn't pop back all the way. So this might be an example of where I go grab something from Tyrant and maybe replace my slide bar or my slide stop and my mag release. Maybe I go grab some upgraded. I really like the feel and look of those. Maybe a black set on there would be fine. Let's see, what else do we have in trouble? We're still having, let me get this put back together and we're going to talk about the trigger. From the very beginning, when we first put this together, we had a little issue where I felt like the safety, it has a little release right there that causes the trigger to hit the frame unless your trigger blade is pushed down. And so I felt like the release back there was just coming into contact with the frame a little too early. Now, I have big fingers, and so when my finger is touching this, it's maybe not depressing the blade all the way, and I'm getting a hang up. And now it's not every time, but if I'm up high at all, it's not, see how it just kind of chunks right there? So what I did was I took a little file and just tried to touch the back of that point where it's making contact. I don't want to disable the safety at all. It's not my intention. I want to just kind of fit it a little bit more. Now, if I do end up replacing this trigger, which I may replace the trigger, I'd love to put a Tyrant in there, or maybe another brand I haven't tried, but I'm really a big Tyrant fan, and they are friends of the channel and help us out on some builds. So I only have one Tyrant trigger. I feel like I probably need to try a few more. But even this Shadow Systems trigger, just a little bit of tuning is really all that is. It's not a big deal. But we had some trouble from the get-go with this trigger, and it just didn't feel right. But now it feels a whole lot better. All of the parts have meshed and melded together. And after those 500 racks, I took the gun apart and wiped it down. And there was a significant amount of metal, touching metal, that made the little black, you know, the dirty looking part on the inside of your gun. There was a significant amount of that in there. We had a lot of parts that wore together. And I think that just goes to show you that racking a gun 500 times before you go to the range is definitely the way to go. I didn't do that here. I should have. And maybe kind of paying the price for the extra work on this one, that this one has already surpassed this one in reliability, which is kind of cool. We're gonna get a holster for this. We might carry it a little bit. It's not quite proven itself yet, and then we gotta make a decision on what we're doing with this trigger, but very happy with this. Go check out 80% Arms. Their slides are beautiful, amazing. If you're an 80% guy and you have not made a GST9, go check them out. Mine all say California on them, but all the new ones say Fort Worth, Texas on them, which is awesome. Eagle Run 23, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.